And from My Metro Medicine, we are live. And we are in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania with the Jose Johnson. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about what Jose is doing, what he's done, where he's been, where he's going. We're going to go all over the place a little bit, but we're going to direct his answers and whatnot in a way that we're going to highlight some elements that are important to him, that are important to me as a health practitioner, as a business owner myself, but also for you as a practitioner of martial arts, as a practitioner of medicine, as whatever field it is that you are in, you will get some value from this. So. Stick with us, and if you have any comments or questions, please post them as we're live here, and I will monitor them here on my iPad. Unfortunately, I don't have a crew yet, but someday, we will be good enough. We will have an amazing crew out there, and we'll be working it, and we will be
roadies.
We will be roadies.
Roadies and tech. That's
he
what we
said
need.
it. So, Jose, he's got a rap sheet here that I'm going to highlight a few things. There's so much to know about this man. Unbelievable. So he's been described as a modern Renaissance man, which is, I bow down to that, that's good. He's an accomplished martial artist, he's a musician, he's a teacher, and you were born the son of it says, former professional musician turned minister,
that was my dad.
and a Mexican immigrant mother.
Yeah.
So, at a young age, you showed an aptitude for science, music, and different things, and obviously that has shown and grown over the years.
Yeah.
But it says that you also lacked some self-esteem, which later on tells me that was overcome through the practice of martial arts and all of the other things that he's developed, because he is by no means shy or limiting in self-esteem now. I mean, if you meet this man, you will know what I'm talking about. He's won 2 U.S. all-around championships. He's been a part of the U.S. Tai Chi team for you martial artists out there. This is the man. He's accomplished a lot. He's even been, recently in China, there was this docudrama that you told me about.
Yeah.
New Legends.
New Legends of Martial Arts.
New Legends of Martial Arts. Man, and will that be available to us to watch here?
Odds are no. Long story behind that. I'll share that at some point.
Okay. But someday when it comes out, we'll make sure that you know about it.
As soon as I know, you'll know.
Okay. He's a Buckeye. He's from OSU. Okay.
OH.
This guy right here. So any of you out in Ohio, that's a big shout out to you guys. Let's see, what else we got here? Music, education, jazz, etc. And you've been a part of how many bands? Top 40 show bands?
Oh man, too many bands to count over the years.
And he's in bands now. He's got the Impact Band, the Maxwell Project, Gumbo Junk Brass Band, Big Boy Brass, Windish Music and Productions. Did I miss anything?
Right now that's pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah, by the end of the week it might be different.
How many is that? 1, 2, 3? Anybody else in 5 bands? Not me. No.
If there's a 6 band out there looking for somebody, let me know.
That's right. Now, he is exclusively playing, Warburton.
Yeah.
Warburton trumpets, flugelhorns, and mouthpieces. He's also an endorsing artist for Robinson's Remedies. There's so much stuff here, man. You have such an extravagant rap sheet, as I said. And now, okay, I'll close with this. He currently owns and operates where we are sitting, which is Jose Johnson's Chinese Martial Arts and Wellness Center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So if you're here in Harrisburg and you're looking for a martial arts instructor, this is the place where you should come. Guaranteed. Tai Chi, Kung Fu, kids, adults, all age, anywhere. This is a guy you want to see. He's also the founder of Integrated Wellness Consultants, and in 2017, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit this year, you've established a new online, an academy.
Yes.
All right. So, one of the questions, maybe other people are interested in this, but I know I am, is why Tai Chi? You could have done anything else in your life. You did music, So why Tai Chi? Why music?
Well, there's a theme, I guess, that's gone through my life in both my decisions for music and my decisions for martial arts. As you related earlier, I had a lot of self-esteem issues as a kid. I hate to use it because it sounds so cliched, but I was the skinny, weak, sick kid that used to get picked on all the time. But it is the absolute truth. And that's how I got started in martial arts. I was actually living in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania at the time. And this is, back in the 60s, and it was not a pleasant place to live. It was a steel mill town, a lot of racial tension going on. And I used to get my butt kicked every day coming home from school. So my dad decided that he was going to sign me up for martial arts classes. So, I started taking karate and judo in Pittsburgh, and did that for a few years. Then started getting really interested in music. So when it came time to pick an instrument, my first desire was actually to play drums.
Really?
Yeah. And it came time to pick an instrument, and my dad said, do you want to do music? And I'm like, absolutely. Like you said, he used to be a professional singer and arranger, toured all around the country, or all around the world. Actually, he's one of the first African American concert hall singers. So he did like operatic excerpts, classical pieces, and then the second half of the show was always doing spirituals. Then he became a minister. So, but what happened was, he's like, you can pick any instrument you want. And I said, drums. And he said, no, you have to learn to play a musical instrument. So all you drummers out there, now you know why I hate on you all the time. But he wanted me to play a melodic instrument. And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, saxophone is kind of cool, but there are too many keys on it. So that'd be too hard. And then trombone is kind of cool. My trombone playing friends, you didn't hear me say trombone was cool.
We might have to edit that part out.
Yeah, I did not admit to that. But it's like, how do you know where the notes are at those things? So it's like trumpet, that's got to be pretty easy. There's only 3 keys to that thing. Piece of cake. Mm-hmm. Not knowing that trumpet is one of the hardest instruments to play because you got to get all those notes out of those 3 keys. All right, so that was my decision for playing music on what instrument I was going to pick up. Martial arts, I always had this love for it because growing up in the 60s and 70s as a kid, I was there for the when Bruce Lee first hit the scene big. I remember watching the Kung Fu TV series, and being just like, as soon as I saw it, like the opening montage, and I'm like, I want to do that. Right?
I bet there's some people out there that thought the same thing.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. We don't want to admit it now again, but
right.
It is what impacted us. So when I got to a point in my life where I was ready to get back into martial arts, I knew I wanted to do Chinese martial arts. I just knew it. I want to do Kung Fu. And so I started, researching, and I'm looking at like, okay, well, long fist, you got to jump and kick and do it. It's too fast. And this is too hard. It's like Tai Chi. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool because it's kind of slow and it's really simple. The old people can do it, I can do it. Again, looking at the surface and seeing what seemed to be simple, but missing out that there's so much intricacy and there's so much detail and there's such it's physically so demanding and people don't see that. So the 2 things that I've done most of my life, actually the third thing being an entrepreneur, I working at a mortgage company and going, I'm tired of working 40 hours a week. I want to work for myself, not knowing that 40 hours a week is a slow week for me now as an entrepreneur. So it's like looking at things that always on the surface look like they're easy, but they're really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But, the trick to that has been, I got suckered into it, but I, became invested in it. So even though it was hard work, it's like, okay, bring it.
Because you've come a long way with both. I mean, with the trumpet playing and the music in general. I mean, you've even produced your own tracks. I mean, you sent a couple of them to me. when I put this out later, maybe on YouTube, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of his tracks as the intro or the outro, and maybe a little bit in between, so that you can hear some of the stuff that he's produced in-house by himself or with others. Yeah. But I mean, he's got some trumpet playing going on, but also with Tai Chi, I mean, a part of the U.S. team, I mean, national champion, etc. All these other things. I mean, those aren't, you don't just show up and then a couple weeks later do a few moves and then you go off to competition and then you just come home with a trophy.
Right.
There are some places that happens.
Yeah, well.
But for the work that you put in, obviously you got some great results, and that's something to be recognized for sure.
Yeah. Well, the big thing is, on the surface, it looks like I'm divided in so many different ways, and there's certainly days that it feels that way when you're trying to manage stuff. But the biggest epiphany I had was when I started to realize that everything I do is about the same thing.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
Okay. So, to be a great Tai Chi practitioner, to be a great musician, to be a great teacher, to be great at anything requires the same work, the same concept. It's what I call the Kung Fu equation.
Okay.
Right? So it's the only way you get good is by you have to invest a lot of time and you have to invest a lot of energy. And there are other things that go along with that, but it's all about having a goal, having a vision, having a desired outcome, and then just doing the work day by day. Putting in the effort.
Right.
Health is the same way. As I've transitioned from being in my practice, particularly in my concepts of teaching. Originally, when I first started teaching, I was very interested in training people to be like me, to be an elite level athlete. And that was what motivated my practice. That's my entire approach to practice. And then as I got a little older, and especially after going through some health issues, I began to realize that the important thing about the practice is the development of your health, and then later on starting to see the development not just of your physical health, but your mental health, your spiritual health, development of yourself as a complete being.
And one thing you mentioned is more than it just being about you, the practitioner, the martial artist and whatnot. Now that you are leading others, it's not about you anymore.
Exactly.
It's the development of them.
Right.
So, which sets you apart, I think, in a lot of ways from other practitioners and teachers. Everyone's doing their own thing. They got their own way to do it. And you've developed one that is based on, okay, I want to see you develop. I want to see what your potential is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is because the message that Jose is delivering here in his school, which we're now giving you a small portion of, it's got so much richness to it that will help anyone who starts to practice. They will benefit in ways you can't even imagine.
Yeah. Well, everybody comes to training for a different reason.
Right.
In terms of like martial arts training, particularly Tai Chi training, people come here for different reasons. I've had a number of students who came to me, started with me because they were interested in being competitive athletes.
Okay.
I have people that come to me because they're interested in becoming teachers. And all of those people have fundamentally achieved their goal. But for me, the biggest satisfaction I've gotten as a teacher has been when I was teaching a lot at like rehab centers. So working with people recovering from strokes. And to see somebody who, the beginning of a session that I'd be working with them, beginning of this month, they can't take a step unassisted. And after like 4 or 5 weeks of working with them, to see them walk across the floor.
Oh, that's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And to me, that made me feel like I was contributing to the world much more than helping somebody get another trophy,
right,
or to be able to teach another class. Those are the things that really impacted me. So it started to make me really think about why I do what I do. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but it's just not where I'm at right now. I mean, we we need people to train to be athletes and to be performers, because those are the things that help to promote the activity.
Yeah, we need the Jet Lis, the Jackie Chan.
Exactly.
We need all of those
we need
people.
those. Yeah, but and we have people that can meet that need. For me, and I think it's kind of the culmination of my life as I look back. I continue to go forward, and I'm looking forward. Every once in a while, I have to remind myself to turn around and look and see how far I've come, because the mountaintop is just way beyond where I am right now. But to look back and see all the different things in my life that seem to be so disconnected, and then see how the further I go along my path, how all of these things start to converge and become one. My dad being a minister, I was encouraged to go into the ministry as well, and I almost did. And I kind of got turned off to religion for a lot of reasons, because you're behind the scenes and you kind of see some of the shady side of stuff that goes on. But the one thing that always stuck with me is that there are people that are doing it just because they want the money, or they want the power of being able to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But there are people that do it because it's part of who they are. That part of their DNA is to be there for people, to help people, to lead people in a way of developing themselves and becoming a better version of themselves. So a few years ago, I made, as much as I hated to admit it, because my father and I never had a really, we weren't tight. We had a very confrontational relationship. But as much as I tried very hard not to be like my father, a lot of the things that I experienced from him have shaped me into who I am today. Actually, everything has shaped me to who I am today. But it's that desire to help people. And that's what's driving me now. Is my congregation is my class, and my job as the teacher is to inspire people to become the best version of themselves that they can be. And
I think you've done that, because if I took you on a tour of this school, if I just rotate the phone a little bit, there's a row of trophies just down here past Jose. In the other room, on the wall, around the corner. I mean, there are so many forms of accomplishment that this school has achieved, not just you yourself, but his students are seeing results as well. So I think they're learning that the message that you're delivering really does make a difference in their lives. So discovering their own potential, because coming full circle, that's essentially what this is all about. And it doesn't matter what you learn. It could be Tai Chi, it could be cooking, it could be broadcasting, it could be anything, but overall, the message is essentially the same.
Yeah, it's the same, and it's the important thing is to me has always been in my life. Anytime that I've lost vision, when I've lost track of what it is I'm looking to do, I get lost. I stumble around, and the clearer my vision, the clearer my expectations, or the clearer my goals, the more focused I become, the better my results. And I have this conversation with my students a lot. You need to really think about, why are you here? And I have students that are here because they're interested in being athletes, or they're interested in being teachers. And then some that are just interested in the health benefits, or interested in the social interactions. And I tell them, be clear on why you're here, and then train in a way that helps you to accomplish that goal. Because the way you train to be an elite athlete is different than the way you train if you're here because you're recovering from a hip replacement.
Right.
You can't do one, you can't have this goal and train this way, because then you'll get discouraged, you'll get, there's too much conflict, there's too much diversion of the methods, and then you're not going to get the results you want.
Exactly.
So figure out what it is you want, train in the way that's going to support that, and you'll be successful.
Yeah, you reminded me of when I was in acupuncture school and whatnot. A lot of the people who, not necessarily in my class, but across the entire school, and what I was witnessing out in, we got a comment that popped up. What's that? Okay. See? Huge difference. Someone's verifying what you just said.
Hi,
Makes a big
Carol. Carol is great.
Thanks for the comment, Carol. So being in acupuncture school and seeing people go through that and then asking them the question when they're nearing the end, it's kind of like graduating from, I mean, it is graduating from school, but even undergrad or when you're not an acupuncturist, they want to start a business. So the first thing that they focus on is it going to be, of course, their patients, because that's where their skills are going to be delivered to. But also, are they focusing on just the money? Like, are they in it for the money? Are they in it for the patients? Are they in it for delivering a message? Are they in it? That's a question that rarely gets asked in any environment, I think, in educational, especially. I mean, you go to college. I mean, how many kids nowadays are graduating and have no idea what they want to do?
Right.
Where do I go now? It's like they've had this great experience, so it can happen anywhere. So it can happen here in the school, unless they have someone to guide them through that and ask the questions, not give them the answers, because the answers lie in the questions themselves. So you ask the right questions, or maybe the best questions, doesn't have to be the right ones, and your students can figure out what it is that they want.
Yeah, and I think that's always a tough one, because when we think about it from a health perspective, you have to ask the question of, why is it that you want to be healthy? And a lot of times I don't think we really think about that.
Yeah.
We're told.
Or even what is health?
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Exactly. I mean, it's like when we think about, this person is in good shape. Well, what does good shape mean?
Yes.
Is it the body fat percentage? Is it, is it how your physique is? Are you ripped? Are you cut? What's your cardiovascular? So all these different things that define our wellness or healthiness. And I think too often we think about these kind of measurable, mostly outward things, as opposed to looking at the holistic nature of our health, which is, I know being not only involved in martial arts, but just in sports in general, you turn on the TV, because I'm a huge sports fan.
Yes, he is.
And the reason I'm a huge sports fan now, when I wasn't really so much when I was younger, is that I've come to appreciate mastery. I love watching people who are great at what they do.
Yes.
And there's just
It's
something.
attractive.
Yeah. Whether it's martial arts or football or music or dance, it doesn't matter. When somebody has invested so much time and energy in what they're doing, business, and they're great at it, I love watching it, because you're going to learn something. But you look at like all these athletes, and they're in phenomenal physical shape, but then you look at them at the end of their career, their bodies are breaking down because they've overused their bodies.
Right.
And a lot of them have internal health problems, not just like the question of whether your knees are shot because you've been playing basketball, but they have some problems with their organs because of either misusing medications, whether it be steroids are the first thing anybody thinks about, but even like misuse of pain medication.
Right, that's a huge one now.
Right. So you've got all of that, and maybe some nutritional deficiencies that have occurred. The organs have been taxed, so you start to see these physiological problems that develop. And obviously, there's lots of psychological things that go along with high-level sports.
Exactly.
So while you may look at that person and say, "Wow, that's the epitome of physical perfection," but we don't think about the spiritual, we don't think about the mental, we don't think about the emotional, right? So it is all about all of that. That's what makes you well.
Right.
All of that being in sync.
And that's that holistic, I mean, I'm not really attracted to that word, but that's one of the best ways to describe what encompasses everything within health, is it's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
Because there are pieces that you will never see, like you said, the athlete. I mean, it's the epitome of physical performance, of physiological functioning, whatever you want to determine as. But this appearance is only so it's skin deep, because beneath that, like we were talking earlier, some people have difficulty describing their emotions. The patients that I see, they have a difficulty describing what pain is for them. They don't know where it's coming from, because, for example, I started a conversation some time ago with a few people, and I said, what would you say if I said stress doesn't exist? There is no such thing as stress. I mean, even the look on his face right now, he's like, what does that mean? Okay. So what I mean is, okay, yeah, there are things that stress you out, so to speak, right? But we slap a label on it, and the label becomes our definition of what makes us abnormal internally, physically, physiologically. Okay? But we forget what's underneath that. We don't know what it is that's causing the stress. We don't know what it is that's causing the pain, what's causing the emotional upset. So when people can begin to question deeper underneath that layer, then they can get a little bit more knowledge about themselves, what they need to work on, where they want to go. They will actually know even more who they are.
Right.
So this is huge, which actually leads me to the next question, which is, what transformations have you witnessed in the health of people you've worked with over the years? You mentioned one.
Yeah, I've seen people, because so much of what I've done personally is focused on Tai Chi and Qigong. Okay. I've worked a lot in the seniors community. I've worked a lot in the rehab community. So, seeing people, improve their balance. I have people who stuck with me for years because they have some measurable differences in things like their blood pressure and cholesterol. For example, I have one student who is like, this is why I did this, because when I started, my blood pressure and cholesterol were here. When I started, it went down to here. If I take time off, it goes back up. So this is what I have to do to maintain it.
Right.
Okay, so that's it. And you see other things. I mean, you see people improve, especially working with kids. You see them improve their strength, their flexibility, their coordination. The biggest thing for me is people becoming more comfortable with themselves. And to me, that's like we were talking about just a minute ago. We were talking about getting to the underlying questions.
Right.
A lot of times, yes, there are things that go on pathologically in the body that create these specific health conditions that we have, whether they be the physical health or the mental health. But a lot of times, there are these mental and emotional components that are, I don't know whether they're the chicken or the egg, but it definitely exacerbates the situation.
Exactly.
So when I see people become comfortable with themselves, whether it's comfortable with the fact that they're not where they want to be and they have to work towards that, or becoming comfortable with, hey, this is what I got to work with. Especially working with people who have joint issues, saying, okay, I'm probably never going to be able to do a split. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
It's okay if you can't do one.
Yeah. And
we've done them.
It's okay.
But we know the process.
Yeah, exactly.
It's painful.
And here's what I usually tell people. Whether it be about
my legs hurt just talking about it.
Whether it's doing the extreme flexibility, doing the acrobatic tricks, like the aerial cartwheels and stuff like that. Whether it's the self-defense stuff.
Right.
I always say to people, why do you feel you need to be able to do this? I can teach you how to do any of these things. I can teach you how to be, kicked repeatedly in the groin and still be able to stand up. But why?
Because it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually, and that becomes the thing. It's like, well, why? And it's like, well, why? What are you willing to trade for that?
Exactly.
Because everything is a trade-off.
That's the balance.
So when we start thinking about health,
yin yang, everybody, yin yang.
Yin yang. So when we think about health, sometimes we have to think about what are we willing to trade. So yes, I can help you to become more flexible, but if you've got degenerative disc disorders, then doing some of the extreme flexibility stuff is not going to be what's in your best interest, right? So understanding that, yes, you can make improvements, but you have realistically only so much that you can work with. So let's work with maximizing what you've got instead of doing something that we could get a short-term result on, but it's going to provide long-term damage to your body.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I have another.
We have another one? Should we read that out? Why
Sure.
not? Sarah Gellhorn. Hi, Sarah. Been a long time. Even as a teacher, that is true. You've helped me understand how to be comfortable with myself as a teacher. My reasons are not necessarily my students' concerns. That lesson was so freeing. So, have someone to confirm it for you. This is good. Yeah. So, let's move on. This is a question, I like to ask this question in general. It's about a larger picture of health across the world, and specifically in this country where the statistic comes from, which is given that more than 70% of today's illnesses are non-communicable, which for those of you who are not familiar with that term, it essentially means it's like things that can be prevented. So a smoker will most likely contract certain diseases, so that's preventable. That's considered non-communicable. And what do you think is preventing people from making healthier choices? That's a large percentage of people. That's a statistic that's put out by a large organization.
Yeah.
And for those of you who maybe don't follow it like I do, I mean, that's a huge expenditure for this country itself. We spend a lot of money in healthcare, way more than any country across the world.
Yeah.
And that's 70% of those expenses go towards things that are preventable.
Well, without getting into like a political
discourse. Let's stay on this side of the river, please.
You know, a lot of it's just I would say a great deal of it is the bill of goods that we've been sold over the years.
Okay.
By the media, and by that what I mean is we're presented these images of what is healthy and what is not healthy in terms of appearance, in terms of what you should be doing, what you should be able to do, how you should do it. So, for years, smoking was portrayed as being cool.
Exactly.
And, it's interesting now that
it's not, by the way.
Yeah, now that it's being exposed as what it is, which is a very damaging habit. Now there's a whole generation of kids are going, "Ooh, you smoke?" And they turn their nose up at it, as opposed to when I was growing up, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to smoke." It's kind of cool,
Yeah.
And so
it's the after school thing.
Yeah.
Or sometimes
During
school thing.
Yeah. Brownsville Station, wouldn't have made their hit if it wasn't for smoking in the boys' room. Little music trivia for you.
There you go.
It wasn't Motley Crue that did it originally. So the idea that it's cool to do this or it's okay to do that sometimes helps. When we see that glamorized, then it's very easy for us to make those choices, those decisions. And also, and this is something that I learned myself the hard way, which is the way I tend to learn everything, is that we're not immortal. We're not invulnerable. And most of my life, I mean, everybody has a fear of death. Everybody has a fear of, of injury and things like that. But it doesn't become real until it becomes real. And when I was diagnosed about 11 years ago with cancer, it became real, like real.
Well, that must have changed your life.
It did. It did. And now, a lot of people become burdened by that. And because my cancer was very aggressive, it was like at first they caught it and they're like, oh yeah, well, your PSA is really high, and the biopsies came back, and you've got a little bit, you've got time. You're young, you got time. You could do it, now, you could do it in a year or two, whatever, you got time. I was like, let's do it in the next couple months. It went from being minor to, if you know anything about cancer, zero margin. Zero margin, meaning that there was a minuscule, if any, level of separation between the cancerous cells and the rest of my organs. So it was so aggressive, it went from being considered fairly, not benign, but fairly like, yeah, whatever, we can deal with this later, to like, if we hadn't done it when we did it, it would have metastasized. So I'm still
even I didn't know all the details of this.
Yeah. So I'm still on, like, normally with prostate cancer, normally after you get through your official remission period, after like about 5 years or so, you go on a annual checkup. My doctor keeps me on a 6-month checkup because he does not want this to get out of control, because it was so aggressive that, if it does have, the potential, if it comes back in that same way,
Yeah, exactly.
it could be a real bummer. So, every day I wake up thinking this could be my last day. And I don't think about it in like, oh my God, this could be my last day. I think about like, wow, this could be the day that I find out that my cancer's back and there's nothing they could do about it. What am I going to do? And I know you asked me the question, like, what gets me up? What gets me out of bed?
We're getting there, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, this could be my last chance to make an impact. This could be my last chance to add to my legacy, and that's become an important thing to me. Not legacy like, my riches legacy, like my monetary legacy, but
the trail behind.
Yeah. What my job, as I view it, I think in all of us, our job should be as a human being is to leave the world a better place than it was before we got here.
Right. I heard someone put it bluntly that basically, rather than focus on the currency, of course, you focus on the legacy, and also basically the message that you want to deliver, which is behind you. So we got another one that popped up. Inspired somebody. There's a couple of them.
Yeah.
All right, we got some people coming in.
Cool.
This is great. Yeah,
All
keep
right,
them coming.
thanks.
Keep them coming, everybody. And actually, it's probably a good time to say for a couple. Let's see, what time is it? Let's see. Right now, it is 11:40. So do we want to do the little 5 people thing?
Yeah, sure. So
I'll check it out when we do the video.
okay.
But from this point forward, the next.
Next 5 people. I want questions.
Okay, I like that. Let's do that.
Questions. All right. I need 5 questions. 5 different people, not one person, 5 questions. All right. So we want 5 questions from people. First 5 people to give us some questions. I got a little special gift for you, and I'll let you know what that gift is at the end. So you got to stay to the end. So
We'll let Jose fill you in on that.
So next 5 questions.
We'll reach out to you, but please send us your questions. We're going to continue with this. And let's see. Here's a good question. In today's media, we're now seeing these arts like Tai Chi and Qigong become adopted by like hospital programs, and they're even being prescribed, and not by people like me for acupuncturists, but even doctors, physical therapists. They're saying, okay, yeah, go do Tai Chi, do some meditation, do some yoga, things like that. But what do you think the reason for that is? Why now? What has been missing up to this point that now people are saying it's okay to do Tai Chi and Qigong, even though we're not really sure what they are? But what do you think is behind that?
I think it's a few different things. For the people who are truly concerned about the welfare of their fellow man. So if you're a medical practitioner, such as yourself, you have, and you alluded to this earlier, you have people that are doing it because they have this desire to help people, to help heal people, to help people to achieve maximum health.
Right.
So anything that you can do that's going to help your patient have a better quality of life, you're going to be all over that. Yeah.
Let's say 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, I mean, they were saying like, oh, acupuncture, no, you can't do that. Even medical doctors were the only ones who could do it.
Right.
But Tai Chi was like, it was equivalent to Bruce Lee.
Right,
Which
exactly.
is by no means equivalent.
Right.
In terms of the practice
Right.
itself.
So what's happened is, one, there's been, this is the wonder of the age of the internet, and especially now with social media and stuff, you have access to more information. Right? So as more information comes out, more research is done, right. Because people, especially in Western medicine, everything is evidence-based. Right? That's the big thing, evidence-based. So as there's more evidence, at first it was all anecdotal. Now there is hard evidence to show the efficacy of some of these practices. So I was like, okay, it's proven, I can support it, boom, there it is. So I think that has a lot to do with it, and also because we see that some of the more conventional methods have limited benefit. Okay? We know surgery works in certain situations,
right.
but surgery should always be that last ditch effort. And if you look at the increase in the non-communicable diseases, health issues,
right.
then we start to say, well, there are ways that these things can be offset or be avoided. And as the system has gotten overloaded, anything that can be done outside of the office, doc's all about, because it's, that's one less thing they have to worry about.
Exactly.
The flip side of that, and I guess maybe the darker side, is from the financial perspective. For years it wasn't things like more natural, approaches are kind of shunned because there was no way to particularly monetize them, on the healthcare side. So I think that's why a lot of times it was kind of pushed back. But again, as more and more people are having to deal with these issues and demanding that
right.
they be given the opportunity to use complementary practices as part of their health and wellness,
that's right.
then get an answer to the populace.
Yeah, because I think to your point that some people, they started to realize that they weren't seeing results with the types of treatments that they were getting, and then now the internet is here, and you can search. It's like, what other things could I do for, like in your case, cancer? And you'll see all kinds of, we call it natural medicine, which is kind of strange because, so that means everything else is unnatural.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why we give these terms. But the fact that it's showing some results for certain people is important. But we don't have the ability to research it in the depth that we would want to know the knowledge about it.
Well,
So there's a level of fear that kept us from getting to that level.
Well, and here's an interesting thing, and this is where I don't want to say greed, but the concern for the bottom line and the CYA attitude can be beneficial. I just was recently talking to someone in the medical profession at Penn State, and they were telling me that now there is a fine that can be imposed on a healthcare facility if a patient had been admitted, they are discharged, and they have a fall within, I forget how long it is, but there's a fall occurs within a specific period of time post-treatment.
That mean actual fall.
Like they fall down, and they have to be readmitted. So there's a fine that Medicare will place on the service provider.
So basically, if you're not effective enough, then you get punished.
Yeah. So like, for example, somebody comes in, they have knee replacement surgery, right? And they're in the hospital. They're in the hospital for a week. They leave the hospital. They go home, and a week later they fall, and they have to be readmitted. The hospital can be fined by Medicare. The hospital and the doctor.
See, and I don't know about that.
So what a lot of them are now doing is they are prescribing to their patients, or they can't prescribe in the way of, because right now Tai Chi is not something that somebody can come with a script and insurance is going to pay me. But they are saying, okay, as part of your rehab, you have to take a Tai Chi class. And if they do that and the person falls, they're clean.
Okay, so there are some behind the curtain things that go. I see.
But what I'm saying is that this is kind of an opportunity, though. So they're starting to see, okay, look, this is a problem that we're having, these readmittance because of falls. Here's something that we can do to potentially offset that, because there's evidence that it occurs.
Isn't that interesting?
So it's
That's an interesting topic. I bet we could probably talk about that for a long time. When it comes to the healthcare industry, there's a lot of stuff going on because it's constantly changing. But in relation to the healthcare industry, Jose, what are you doing that's different from other places, whether it's someone like me, an acupuncturist, or another martial artist? So what is it that makes you stand out from other schools, other healthcare facilities? Just name one thing from it.
Wow. I've been asked that question a lot recently. I've been challenged with it. And sometimes I'm really clear and sometimes I'm not. And I like to think that it's my unique perspective on, again, using your less than favorite word, holistic or synergistic approach to our development. I think it's way too easy, like a martial artist, like most martial arts schools, they're very concerned about just a specific range. It's like, well, I'm either, I want people to be healthy so that they're confident and strong and can defend themselves, or so that they can do all these wonderful physical things. Or, a doctor who's like, well, I really want this person to be, physically healthy and fit so that they can live a long, productive life.
Right.
And not looking at how all of those things are part of the wholeness of our life. And unless you have played in all those areas, there's a lot of doctors who really haven't gotten too much into the personal development.
Right.
And there are people in personal development that really haven't gotten too much into not just the general health, but like the specifics of health and wellness and what it takes, not just to be in good shape, but how to deal with disease, how to deal with some of these other things. So I've kind of been fortunate to have been, to have walked through these different areas of life and experienced them personally. And it gives me a very different perspective on things. So I know in this area, there's really nobody who has got this, culmination of, like the physical athletic skills, the spiritual aspects, the medical portions, all of these different things, the philosophical concepts, where everything has been completely put together and coalesced and can be presented as a singular package.
Right. So one of the messages that was delivered from one of my teachers in acupuncture school, who unfortunately passed away, I believe it was last year, Bob Duggan. He said, correct me if I'm wrong, someone who's out there that can comment and fix it, but I think he, very simply put, teach, treat, teach. So you teach to try to teach the person as well as treat them, because it's not just through the action of needles or the action of Tai Chi movements or the movement of your arms through Qigong. There's different things that you can get through that message. So along that lines, that is something that you're doing differently, because personal development is now essentially what Tai Chi was years ago. It's like people didn't know much about what Tai Chi can do and what Qigong could do or holistic medicine could do. So they put it on the side, and it was one of those extra things. But now people are accepting it, and now there's a level of, you'll see a lot more things coming out like you're talking about, which is personal development, personal mastery, personal growth, which goes right into this new thing that you've done. This is great. Anybody who's out there who is interested in learning more about Qigong or alternative medicine, anything along that lines, Jose has started this new thing online, an online academy that I mentioned in the very beginning. I'm going to let him say a few things about it, but this is, I've tried it out when he launched it, a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He had 2 courses on there, and he's building more. He's got another one behind the scenes, and he's producing some more in the back end related to Qigong alternative medicine. But I think this is going to be great, because now you can stay at home and you can do like you're doing right now or at work, and you can listen to it on your break, you can listen to it at home, and you can learn more about these arts and get more of it without having to spend a lot of extra time traveling and etc. So say a little bit about this academy that you've got going on now.
Well, I just started this, it's called Personal Mastery and Growth Academy. PMAGacademy.com. There's my link. And the idea behind it is that this concept called scalability. There's only so much that I can do in the real world. There are only so many classes I can teach. And each class, even though I have a fairly large facility, each class is limited by that physical space. And there's only so many hours I can teach a day, so many people I get in class. So I'm limited in my ability to reach as many people as possible. As I talked about legacy, my legacy is I want to help as many people grow in their lives as humanly possible. But with technology now, I can reach a lot more people through this virtual platform. So, there are a lot of people, and this kind of really hit me, is like, I have a lot of people that have opted into my page, my school's page, to get information about classes, but they're not signing up for classes. And as one of my business mentors said, there are only two reasons why people aren't signing up. It's like either it's money or it's time. That's basically it. And the money issue, we're offering, $20 trials for people, or $69 for 6 weeks as a trial. So the money's not an issue.
That's affordable compared to many other places.
That's really affordable, right? That's not what I charge on a regular monthly basis. That's my get them in the door sort of price, right? But if you can't, if you can't afford $19.99 to do 3 classes, then you probably can't afford to be a member of the school. Right? So it's just simple mathematics. But, a lot of people weren't even signing up for that. So the question then is like, if money is taken off the table, then what is it? It's time. Right. The time and the location aren't convenient to that person.
Right.
So how can I remove that obstacle? Because everything is about removing obstacles. So the way to remove obstacles, I come to you. Now, I can't come to you physically, but through technology,
exactly.
Everybody can have access to the information that I have that I can present, and have it when they need it and where they need it.
So, what's one course that you have going on there right now that they could access through a trial or through what membership?
Right. Well, I have a couple of free ones up, or at least one right now. One's on fundamental of breathing, so it just talks about the fundamentals of breath work as it relates to Chinese martial arts and Qigong. And that's absolutely free. Just check it out, try it, see if you like it. I have one paid course up right now, which is on Guan Qi Fa, the traversing energy methods. One of my favorite Qigongs. It's great for balancing energy. So if your energy's too high, you got to bring it down. If it's too low, to bring it up. So it's a great tonifying one.
Right. I did it. It's really good. So
that one's available for sale. And so what I've got going on next year, I'll be actually doing a pre-launch, hopefully within the next week, is going to be a full year's worth of Qigong. So every month there'll be a different topic, and those topics are going to be actually broken down or condensed into a quarterly theme. So there'll be the first theme is going to be on classical Qigong. So the month of January will be 8 pieces of brocade. Then we're going to do the five animal play, which is another, that's actually I think the first documented Qigong method. The drawings were found in caves, dating way
I've
back.
heard.
Yeah, but that
was
like
a little bit of it.
Yeah, that's like the first one. So we're going to do 5 animals, and then we're also going to do the muscle tendon changing classic.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are 3 of the most well recognized and practiced Qigong sets. So those are the classical ones. Good. Then I'm also going to go over medical Qigong, like Qigong for health and healing. So things like the 6 healing sounds and the Guolin Qigong, which is used a lot in cancer rehab in China. Also some Qigong self-massage, stuff like that. There'll be Qigong that's specific for joint mobility. So things like silk reeling and other Qigongs that have a lot to do with our spinal and joint health. And then esoteric Qigongs for like more the spiritual development. So each quarter will have a theme, and then each month there'll be a Qigong that matches that theme. So people will be able to take that course, whether it be a la carte and you just say, I want to do this month, and that's fine, or to sign up for a year-long program where you're going to get a very comprehensive approach. The feedback I've gotten on the course that I've already done from actually someone who teaches online was, I love this because I can go back over the lessons.
Yeah.
You know, like I hear you say this stuff in class,
Right.
but sometimes it doesn't stick. But I can go back and I can stop it and I can watch and I can re-listen and every time I watch it, I learn something new.
Yeah, because they can't rewind you here.
Exactly.
But they can rewind you. It's like, what did he say? I want to write that down.
Sometimes
or I
they
want
want to fast forward.
Yeah, or fast forward. Yeah, you can do that too, but you don't want to because you'll miss all the information. But see, I went through the course myself, and on both of them when you launched them, and they were awesome because I had complete control over it. I could follow you. I could stop. I could rewind. I mean, technologically, it was like, okay, this is in my hands. I can do with it what I want. And the information was also helpful, even as an acupuncturist, because I mean, you're a martial artist. I am a martial artist as well. But the information that you're giving is on a different level than what an acupuncturist might do. So we're sort of bringing together two modalities in a way that can benefit each other. So acupuncturists out there, I highly recommend that you take advantage of this. Check it out. The website is again
PMAG, like PMAG, Personal Mastery and Growth Academy.com.
PMAGacademy.com. So check that out when we're done here. See what kind of courses are out there. He's going to have a lot more coming. I'm going to hold him to it. It's going to be good for you, for your patients and whatnot. We got something come in? Oh, we got a question. Nice. First person.
Of course, it's Carol.
She
always has questions.
Good. We like questions. So what tips do you have for staying motivated over the long haul in a program like Tai Chi that clearly enhances your life, but takes some dedication and focus?
I think that the first one is don't lose sight of your long-term goal, like your big goal, your big picture, the why. You know, why are you doing this? And I think that's where people get lost sometimes, is they lose sight of the big why. You know, so if you're doing this to reduce stress, okay, that's got to be your why. Everything has got got to follow that.
Right.
And then the second is then to set small, accomplishable goals so that you always feel that you're making progress. I know Carol knows this one. Some of you may not. The concept of the theory of marginal gains. So we tend to want to look for big results.
Big.
Yeah. If we just make 1% improvement in whatever we're doing, just every day shoot for 1% improvement, then there's a compound effect that kicks in. So we just need to make these small incremental improvements and keep going. You know, acknowledge your improvements, but and then the third thing is, this is the yin yang part of it, is you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, because growth and change, there are going to be times where you're up and there's going to be times when you're down, and it's just, if you keep your eye on the prize and understand that when you're having frustrations in your training, those points of frustrations are actually when you're making progress.
Right.
That's where your body and your mind, your neurons are trying to form new connections, right? So you're forming these new, the dendrites are being sent out, and you're having opposing neural signals going on. So that's what confusion is, where your brain's not sure where to go. So the more confused you get, the closer you are to making a breakthrough of one of those the new path kicking in.
That's right.
So
that's why the new field, like neuroplasticity, basically how the brain changes because of this. Because if you're not happy with where you are, then essentially you're not happy with the patterns that you've developed over the years. And if you keep seeing the same results and you're not happy with them, then it's not because you're not doing the right thing or whatnot. It's because the things that you've done over the years, you've developed a specific pattern on how to do it. And what you have to do is to redesign that. And I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that's what you're pointing at.
Absolutely. And sometimes you just got to, change your game plan.
It can be as simple as that. Yeah, exactly.
As I look at my career, I've changed the emphasis on what I've done and how I've done it as I've grown and matured and gained more knowledge. So there's nothing wrong with taking a step back and saying, this is why I started, but this is why I want to continue. So
yeah, people can hold on to that, then they'll be good in the long run.
Yeah,
for sure. So let's wrap this up, and this is one of the big things that I wanted to hit on as well. which is I want to know a little bit more about you personally. You can tell them as well, because maybe tell them one story that no one has heard before about a time where your life changed dramatically and it helped shape who you are today. And we're going to finish with this.
Yeah.
Give him a second. Let's see if he can process all those patterns and everything else we just discussed.
Well, the thing is that
before I knew you, something I don't know.
Yeah, most of the things that have gone on have been. I've been kind of transparent about most stuff.
That's
so
right.
My students.
Not afraid to tell you.
My students, know of a lot of stuff. But actually, I'll share something that actually just happened a couple days ago.
All right.
I'm going to go back and focus. When
You're welcome, Joey.
Yeah, when you're talking about the fact that I don't seem to lack in self-confidence.
You're not going to tell me otherwise, are you?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
So there's one of the hardest things as not just a teacher, but a mentor, as a person who intentionally puts themselves in front of people as a motivator, as an example. One of the hardest things to do is to admit that you have faults, because so many of my students look to me as having the answer to all things, to be all-knowing.
He does, doesn't he?
And I'll be the first one to tell you I got lots of faults. But one of the things is dealing with fear, and we all have fear, and we try to mask it sometimes. And I try to help people get past their fear, but I still deal with fear on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, I wake up every morning with the knowledge that this could be my last day. Now, when I say fear, that fear, like with fear in our bodies, it triggers either the fight or flight mechanism.
Exactly.
Right? So right. You either lie down and die, or you
stand up and
fight. So one of my mentors, actually the person that's really made a lot of impact on me the past couple of years, is a guy named Michael Parrilla. He owns Parrilla Consulting. Been part of his mastermind this past year, which has completely changed my mindset on business and business and life. And Michael's is an exceptionally successful entrepreneur, and you see him. I mean, he's an old kung fu guy. I don't say old; he's a little younger than me, but I mean, he's been doing kung fu for a long. He's been doing kung fu for a long time. But he's a very big, bodybuilder kind of body. Very strong personality, very accomplished. Right? You look at him, and it's like that guy has got it figured out. Right? And he put a post up on Facebook just a couple days ago about fear. And he's like, everything that's happened bad in my life, even to today, has been because of fear. And he said, and I have fear. And I'm afraid of this, and I'm afraid of that, and I'm afraid of this. And he's like, it's there. And every day I have to deal with those fears. And it was a very long and complicated post, but it made me go, Mike, you're right. I have fear. And you came out as somebody who people are following and paying a lot of money for his guidance, for him to say, I'm afraid of failing. Yes, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. To just admit it straight up and go, you know what? I have those same fears. And one of those fears is that I'm afraid that people will know that I'm afraid, and they'll stop respecting me. They'll stop. They'll stop believing me.
So you don't think that way anymore, or you still do from time to time?
I do, but it's acknowledging that I have those fears, and not letting those fears control me, and doing what I can. Doing what I can to circumnavigate those fears. So yeah, every day, you know, I have fears that, you know, I'm not good enough, that I don't know enough, that you know, that I'm going to fail, or I fear that I'm going to succeed.
Right.
So I have all of these fears that go on, and just understanding that they're natural,
Right.
and then trying not to let them control me.
That's big, because fear, it can step up and it can be right in front of your face, and it will either cause you, like you said, you either lie down and die, or you stand up and live and you face it. Because fear, you either step up to the plate and know, I mean, if anybody knows baseball and whatnot, but you either hit a single, a double, a home run, or a grand slam. But if you never step up to the plate, then you never know what it's like to have that kind of a feeling and that kind of accomplishment. So fear really can set people back. So that's huge. I did not know that. And I bet that a whole bunch of people out there didn't know either.
Yeah.
So the man does have faults, believe it or not.
Yeah, well,
It's okay.
it's okay. I know I'm a snowflake. Yeah, but, you know, I used to tell people I'm not like, I don't have fear. I used to have performance anxiety. That's one of the reasons I really got into to doing Tai Chi and stuff. I wanted to try and get over my stage fright, because as a musician, yeah, it's like, you put me in an ensemble, I was fine. You put me as a soloist, I had problems. I would freak out. And through competition, that's what I learned. I was on the rug. It was just me. You know, win, lose, draw. It was all about me at that moment.
Right.
And I was able to overcome those fears. And I don't feel, technically, I guess what I do feel is fear. But to me, it's become more excitement. So when I'm getting ready to perform, I feel a nervous energy, but it's not like, what am I going to do? It's like, I can't wait to go out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know,
it's an excitement. It's a level of excitement. Yeah, exactly.
But so neurologically, it's the same thing. You know, it starts with what's going to happen, and then it's just how I adjusted my mindset to look at it and to define what that feeling was. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe 30. Show my age. 30 years ago, I would look at that feeling and go, I'm afraid, and then
close
myself off.
And,
Now I look at it like I'm excited.
Uh-huh.
And it's the same situations, the same circumstances. It's just the way I've been able to program my mind to look at it. Now, I'm able to do that in certain areas of my life, but there are areas of my life that I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, you've matured in some of these areas,
Yeah.
in music and martial arts and whatnot. So you've given yourself the chance through patience and practice and persistence.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it. I mean, because we're all learning the same lesson.
Right.
When we've truly mastered it, I've mastered it in the art of Tai Chi as a martial art, and I'm mastering it in Tai Chi as a teacher, but I haven't mastered it in every facet of my life. That's when I know I'm a true master.
Somebody said that's the imposter syndrome. I like that, Joanne.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, it's just trying to figure it out. And when I can do it in everything, then I've reached enlightenment, and I'll ascend on the lotus clouds, and, you know, yeah. But until then, you know, it's and this is the hard, I think, part for people like us who really are passionate about helping people become their best. We tend to put so much on ourselves, and their successes or failures, sometimes we put on our own shoulders. And
Right.
I know it's like sometimes like, what could I have done better to help that person? You know, what did I not do? And you know, yes, everything is ultimately on you as an individual. You know, I can give you all the tools, but if you don't use the tools, that's on you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But still, there are those parts of you where you feel like, oh, I could have done better, and I'm inadequate, and do I really know what I'm talking about? And you know, so those go on, and it's just acknowledging that, yeah, we all have those days. You know,
Right.
Even the greatest of the great have these moments of doubt. Maybe not like Michael Jordan not having the doubt on the court, but there are areas of his life that I know, you know, if he was really real with himself, where he's got like, no, I'm, you know.
Well, he's a great example, because I mean, he tried so many different things, and he succeeded, of course, in basketball. And I think if I remember correctly, actually, that was one of the things that people told him that he shouldn't do. And then he tried baseball, and then he wasn't successful in that.
Yeah.
But then basketball was huge for him, and I mean, so he experienced actually one of the quotes that I heard recently. I think it actually came from a movie with Jim Carrey, but something like, one of the biggest realizations that he had in his life, he was talking personally, is that you can fail at something you don't love. So you might as well do what you love.
Yeah.
Okay. So if people are afraid of what it is that they want to do in their life, then they should just face that fear, step up to the plate, swing for the fences, and really see what happens. Because you never know. You just might hit that grand slam. So fear it can be a huge obstacle for people, but through maturity, through practice, like I said earlier, persistence, you can really make a difference for yourself, which in turn makes a difference for the people that come to see you here. So here's your last chance to send up any questions. We're going to close out here. I want to ask Jose one last thing, but again, post your questions. And you said that you were going to tell them what we'll give them a little. What did you say you're going to offer them for the first 5 questions?
For the first 5 questions, I was going to offer a $20 off coupon code for any of my courses.
There you go. $20 off.
Yes.
Take it or leave it.
So
questions.
If you want to do the Guan Chi Fa, you can do that. $20 off, $49. If you want to save that to do one of the upcoming courses, I will give you the ability to do that. So
okay. So let's close out, and why don't you give everyone one last piece of advice, one last piece of wisdom. See, he's got a big cup full of wisdom right here. See, wisdom. Chinese character, wisdom.
Yes.
Right there.
It's dark. It's dark roast wisdom, actually.
Dark roast. Give him something.
Yeah. I think for me, it's Tai Chi. Right? Everything is Tai Chi. My favorite saying. I don't know if anybody used it before me, but it's what I use all the time. It is what it is. It becomes what you make of it. And so, life throws us all kinds of great stuff, and it throws us all kinds of crap. We don't always have control of what happens to us, but we do have control of how we respond to it.
Right.
So, take what life has given you and figure out how to use it to turn your life into what you want it to be. And make a difference. I think actually that would be the biggest one. Make a difference, no matter how small. You think what you do doesn't make a difference, and there are days I feel that way where what I do doesn't affect anyone. I'm wasting my time, and then someone comes up to me and tells me what I did, how it impacted them, and how it made a difference in them. Never think that you're minuscule and you don't have an effect on the world, because you really do.
That's great. That's great. I love it. So thank you all for being here today. This is Jose Johnson up in Harrisburg, PA. Check him out. Jose Johnson, Chinese Martial Arts. He's got pmagacademy.com. Thank you. There's so many extensions out there.
Yeah, I know.
So many different things. But I'll post this up for you guys. Or it'll be in a podcast. It'll be on YouTube. We'll have all the links there. You can reach out to him personally. You can find him on his website. Everything will be there for you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Justin Flinner from My Metro Medicine, way down in D.C., but we're up here in Harrisburg. Jose Johnson, thank you very much. My big brother.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Always good to see you.
Take care, everyone. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time.